Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now June 13th of 2023, and given that we are inching closer and closer to Indy 5, the Dial of Destiny, that's going to be an interesting outcome based on when it arrives on June 30th and post-release within the first 2 weeks of July. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into the situation and what's going on here. Now, we know that Jon Favreau is a very passionately driven creator and fan. He loves what he does. He works around the clock with Dave Filoni and others that are coming on board over at Lucasfilm in a desperate attempt to course-correct the Star Wars franchise, to really bring it back down to its roots. Now, one thing that George Lucas loves about what he does, or should I say, one thing that Jon loves about what he does, is because he's following George Lucas's path. He is respecting George Lucas's philosophy and outlook on the franchise. Now, Jon had a couple of things to say that he believes is going to make fans very angry about a specific scenario that is currently in the works that will eventually blossom over at Lucasfilm. We're going to be talking about every single bit about this, so stay tuned. One thing about Jon and Dave that I really do respect is that they know how to keep a balanced composure, and they really know how to keep that in place whenever they talk about something controversial or something that they disagree with. That's the one thing I do like about Jon and Dave, I will admit. Now, moving to the next thing, alright? On top of all of this, given that Jon Favreau is now heavily promoting the Ahsoka series with Dave and his future with Star Wars, he eventually got on the subject of something that he believes fans will be very angry about. He went on to deliver the following to the fans. In this business, you are always going to have creative opposites. What myself and Dave are doing is all about bringing back legends and embracing what fans want to see put into live action. But Lucasfilm's mishandling of Star Wars movies is something that I believe needs big improvement, and with the recently announced movies that they presented at Celebration, I think what is going to make fans angry is how some of these films are just not being led by passionate creators, and this includes some of the upcoming shows as well. With all due respect to Leslye Headland and her crew with the Acolyte, I feel they could have done so much more with that series and how it could have pulled more from Legends, and I just think fans are going to be very let down with live-action material to an era that's so new and undiscovered from the recent books and comics. It doesn't really focus on George Lucas's Star Wars. Now, I want to stop here for 1 second. Now, this is working in conjunction with what Leslye Headland said a couple of years ago, by the way, about how she believes that George Lucas's philosophy does not need to be followed to make a successful story, that you do not need George, and that he is not the answer or key to understanding Star Wars. Now, we gotta all remember that George, yes, is Star Wars. He is the guy to understand exactly where Star Wars is going. And I think that's the one reason why a lot of fans trust in Dave Filoni, is because he is the true protege of George Lucas. He worked with Lucas for several years on the Clone Wars, so he knows how George thinks, he knows what George wants from the fans, and how to give it to them. So Jon Favreau is basically saying here in a very respectful manner that he believes that these movie announcements are going to go haywire, and that this Acolyte series by Leslye Headland, it's not following George's routes, or his roots, whatever have you. The thing about this, too, is that Disney has been mishandling the movies over and over again, and what he means by that is they announce a batch of films, then they cancel them. Then it goes into limbo mode. Then it's back in production. Then it's completely canceled for good. Then they announce more movies, falls into creative differences, gets canceled, and pretty much rinse and repeat. So Favreau kind of commented on that there, the mishandling of these movie announcements, and how he believes that's going to happen again, because these movies are not being handled by passionate creators. I think what he's talking about is this new Jedi Order movie that's being written by Stephen Knight. A lot of people are probably like, who is Stephen Knight? Like, who is this guy? Where does he come from? What movies has he made? He's made maybe like one or two well-known things out there that he was a part of. I believe he did Eastern Promises, correct me if I'm wrong. But other than that, Stephen Knight has not really made anything on his own that's considered like a major blockbuster or something that everybody knows about. And in fact, if you go on all the movies that he has made and kind of backtrack it to Rotten Tomatoes, they all have very low scores, very low percentages on both the critic end and on the customer's end of things. So moving to the next thing here, all right, he goes on to elaborate further, all right. I thought that was a mistake and that adventuring into familiar times that are already established would have been the better route for the Acolyte to go to expand what the fans grew up with for so many years. Our mission and goal in mind is to give the fans what they want the best we can and accurately as possible, but I just feel a show like the Acolyte, from what I have looked over, is going to create a fan division and an ugly response if not handled better moving onwards in post-production. I gave Leslye some tips on the show and advice, not sure if that came to use, but I wish her luck, but I sense fans are going to come out of it with an intense emotion with this one. It's bold and different from what I have heard and seen. We like to respect Lucas's outlook on Star Wars, and that is something missing from that I have seen with The Acolyte. No disrespect to Leslye and her crew. See guys, this is what I like about Jon, is that he never really bashes anybody, no matter how bad they may be with Star Wars. He just kind of respectfully critiques them and kind of warns fans that it may very well get a harsh response or a very emotional response, quote unquote. So here's the thing about Mando Season 3. I don't know if a lot of fans know this, but he has been openly clear about this too, that it wasn't really all their fault as writers, the way Mando Season 3 turned out the way that it did, because Kathleen Kennedy was really pulling the strings here for the script of the show. She had a lot of creative pull on that, but she was non-existent when they were filming. But by that point, it's too late, right? Once you're starting up filming and principal photography, whatever have you, the damage is done. The story's written, it's all complete. You have to go by the pages. So this is something that I think Favreau took a lot of bravery to say. He, I believe, is just like us fans out there that really has to speak their mind through their heart and soul about what they love and what they dislike. And this is very similar to how Mark Hamill was trying to warn fans about The Last Jedi and how it really is going to create a very unique response. He put it very lightly back then, without saying a fan division, but he said a very unique response. And this is exactly why I believe Acolyte will be The Last Jedi 2.0. Without a doubt, no hesitation, I'm going to say that flat out right now, because Leslye herself has admitted that if you only like George Lucas and you expect him to be in the room, or if you only expect Star Wars to revolve around George's philosophy, then that's misogyny. That's literally how far she went with things, and that just goes to show you how very obsessive she is with her beliefs of what Star Wars is meant to be. So anyways guys, I would love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments. Anything ranging from the wait for Mando Season 4, getting pushed till 2025 now, and also what are your thoughts on Ahsoka? Do you believe it's going to be great or bad, whatever have you guys? I would love to hear it. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to